had to winter jam. I got tickled when I was telling somebody at work how involved the kids get, and they're paying attention and they're hanging on every word. They get up and they rally for these different causes. Children that are homeless and things around the world, and children in trafficking rings and stuff like that. And I could see our kids, my class is 8 to 11, and they were watching those videos and they were hanging on every word, and they were so moved by the Spirit and by the videos. Some of you families almost sponsored some kids for $30 a month. They were like, raise your hand if you want this packet. And I had kids, I was like, put your hand down. Your daddy is not sending them $30 a month unless the Spirit moves on him. But that was, it was kind of funny to me, but it showed me that they were really taking everything in. Tonight for the reading of the Word, first I'm going to go to Psalms chapter 34 and verse 7, and then real quick I'll flip over to 2 Kings chapter 6. We all know it, it's very familiar. Psalms chapter 34 verse 7 says that the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them. And I'm thankful. 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 14 says, Therefore he sent thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city both with horses and with chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not. That's Elisha speaking. Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Ben, would you pray over this word?
Yes, our Heavenly Father, God, Lord, we know, Father, your word is already blessed. Father, Lord, and we ask you that you bless your humble servant, Father, Lord, as the word is delivered tonight. But Lord, open our hearts and our minds to receive what you would have us to hear tonight, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, for this word. Lord, this word is a light into our feet, Father, Lord, a lamp into our way, Father, Lord, what you've given us, Father. In Jesus' name we pray.
You can be seated. Thank you for standing. To be a little transparent, I've been praying about I don't know if it's called the gift of intercession or the burden of intercession or what, but the Lord had dealt with me a few months ago, and when I was praying about something, and he said, when are you going to start caring about somebody else? And I thought, I do. Like, I thought I did anyways, till you said that. But I began to start studying and reading about intercession and about carrying other people's burdens to the Lord. And I kept coming back to this Bible verse in 2 Kings when I would read, and I'd flip through my Bible and I'd come back to it, and I thought, well, you heard that story when you were a kid, or you learned that when you were a Bible quizzer or whatever, but I just kept on just coming back to it. And I wondered, what does this have to do with intercession? Well, somebody that is going to intercede on the behalf of someone else has to have clear vision. They have to have clear vision even when everything else looks uncertain. If you look, I read a lot in Matthew Henry's commentary. That was my pop's favorite, so that's my go-to if I want to know anything past what's in the Bible. But if you just start reading in chapter 6 of 2 Kings, and you just pick up on, well, there was this host and there was this army and they were surrounding the man of God and all this stuff, it sounds creepy and it sounds scary and it sounds very extreme. But if you back up a little bit, you learn that the king of Syria had been setting out to take Israel over and over and over. And every time he laid out a plan, it didn't matter how good it was, it didn't matter how secretive he was, it didn't matter what he did, Israel and the man of God was there waiting on him every time. Me and Lauren watch a lot of cop shows. That's our stories, Brian says it. He says like we're like two old women. But you know on those, there's always somebody that's wanting, I want good intel. They said, give me that good intel. If it's not good, we ain't going with it. We're not running with it. But they was running on the best intel because the man of God was getting it straight from the throne. He was getting it exactly from the source every time. And the king of Syria started to he said he was getting insulted. And he was such a good king, and he was a mighty warrior, and he was all this. And he said, why do I have somebody that's unfaithful among me? I'm going to get to the point, but I got to give you the backstory. Why is there somebody among me that would want to fight for them? And they said, oh, no. We're on your side. But you need to know about the one that ain't. The one that's not on your side. He was so insulted, and he was so outraged when they said, it's just that preacher that lives over there in Dothan. He's going, all this time he'd been attacking this king, and he's going to overtake him and whatever. And he got so outraged and so insulted and so done with it, he was going to leave his peer alone. He was going to stop attacking his equal. That's where he should have stayed at, trying to attack his equal. Where he messed up in is when he went after the vessel of the Spirit of God. He could have fought hand-to-hand combat with the king if the Lord hadn't been throwing it off. They could have fought. It could have been a mighty battle. It could have gone. But he's decided, I'm attacking the Spirit. I'm going where that Spirit is that's speaking to him. Elisha's servant came out to start the day. More in Matthew Henry's commentary says that in this point in Elisha's ministry, he was, according to Hebrew history, he was training more prophets and more ministers. So they had been watching and listening and marveling at how he was able to warn the king, and he was able to warn the armies and everything, and that was all good, and they were hyped, and this is the best thing that's ever happened to us, until they get up one morning and he's flipped the script. And to me, it would look like a lot of them have a little room to doubt now. I thought you'd been telling them where this army was going to go. I thought you'd been telling them so they were prepared ahead of time. But I really feel like if the Lord had been telling them all this time where Syria was going to be, he had already told Elijah. He'd already told Elisha. He already knew. That's why he could calmly come out there and pray and say, I already know. I knew they were. I couldn't tell y'all. Y'all might have broke camp and left me in the middle of the night. I knew they were coming. That's why I can tell you, look up and see that those that are with us are way more than those that are against us. He could tell him, and that is a kind of strength. That's the strength of an intercessor. That's somebody that has fully immersed themselves in the will of God over and over and over. They've obeyed over and over and over. When it sounds crazy, over and over. When it looks stupid, he's done it over and over. When somebody else doesn't understand it, he just keeps going back over and over and over. That is just like somebody going to the gym, just working those arms out, working those muscles out. He was working his muscles out. He was working those spiritual eyes out by saying, all right, this is where you say go. This is what I'm going to do. Every time, over and over. And he knew that the way he kept doing that, if the Lord kept leading him in the same places and he kept making a way every time, he knew when the Lord said, all right, when you wake up in the morning, don't freak out. They're going to be here. They're going to be here. But I know Elisha, if he was laying in his bed at night when the Lord came to tell him that, I know he said, okay, well, where are you going to be? Just tell me where you're going to be, and I won't worry about anything else. And can you imagine, I used to watch musicals with my grandma. The hills are alive with the sound of music. You don't know nothing about the hills being alive with the sound of music till the hills are alive with the sounds of horses and chariots that are made of fire. He prayed for his friends. He prayed for those. It's the duty of men and women of God, and I don't just mean people that stand up here. I mean called Christians. It's our duty to walk in our faith with such confidence when somebody beside us is shaky and uncertain. It's our duty to try to lead them to peace and certainty. He calmed the fears of his servant with just a prayer because he already knew what was coming and who was coming behind him. Verse 17 said, he asked the Lord to show his servant. Although it looked terrifying and it looked extremely personal. Has anybody ever went through something where it's like, this is just getting personal. This is ugly. This is disgusting. Nobody else in my church is facing this. Nobody else in my family is facing this. Why is this? Why? You have felt like the person at the bottom of the hill with a whole army. So this is just getting personal. And the Lord wanted him to show them that it looked personal in the flesh, but it was very, very much a spiritual battle. He had set his heart against the Spirit of God. So the Spirit of God was set against that army. Elisha prayed his prayer in confidence because he could already see in his spirit what others could not. His servants had to learn right then and there that it doesn't matter what it looks like with your physical eyes. You can pray with your spiritual eyes, and you can pray for them to be opened so you can see a different story and you can have a glimpse of a different outcome. Other examples in the Bible where somebody's eyes had to be opened for more than the obvious reason. In John chapter 9, the man at the pool of Siloam had his eyes open, and he had grown up blind in a day and age where people thought it was his family's fault. It was somebody else's sin that had brought him this way. And when people questioned the whys and the hows and all the details, the Lord showed them that some people are just dealt a bad hand. I hate to say it, but somebody's got to be dealt a bad hand if you want to stand up and testify how God turns the odds around and He flips it in your favor. In Acts chapter 9, Paul was traumatically and dramatically blinded and then healed to show us that when God means for you to do something, He means for you to do it. He means it. Your calling is nothing to play with. Your anointing is nothing to pull off. The burden that He has put on your heart, the people that He's told you to pray for, it is nothing to play with. And it's way bigger and way more important than anything you could have ever done in your past. And in Mark chapter 10, blind Bartimaeus had his eyes open. And it shows us that even a rookie could touch Jesus. He had never physically actually seen Brother Tree. He'd never seen the miracles because he was blind. He didn't see the woman's son raised to life. He just heard about it. He didn't see another crippled man raised up by the pool of Bethesda. He had just heard about it, but he had heard just enough and had just enough faith to say, you know what, I'll try that. I'm not getting any blinder. I'm not going to be any more dependent. I'm not getting any more handicapped. I'm going to give that a chance. There's enough truth to that. There's enough people that are doing that. I want my eyes open to see if that's for real and it can be for me. He heard just enough to cry out to Jesus. He said, Jesus, show me what the hype's all about. And I'm talking so fast, it's probably going to be really short. Those are different people that had their eyes open for different reasons. Elisha was the first one that I wanted to talk about. It was about him, but it was about the spirit that was in him. And he had to pray. He was already strong enough for his servants. Sometimes we're the ones that needs to be prayed for. Galatians 6:2 says, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. We've all been to a point. How many? You don't have to raise your hand, but I'm pretty smart. I know everybody said this at some point, that I just feel numb. I just feel numb. You know why people don't want to address numbness? Because if you sit still, you're still not feeling anything. When you start to move around, it hurts a little. And you have to acknowledge what's going on. When you try to turn and stand up from something, if you've been sitting down so long that your feet have gone to sleep and your legs are gone to sleep, you're fine as long as you stay there. But if you start to move around, you have to acknowledge what put me there. You have to acknowledge what kept you there. You have to acknowledge why it was just easier for me to stay there. You have to acknowledge why I'm just too tired. I can't deal with the pain of getting up. I can't deal with recovery. I can't do with anything. I just want to stay here where I'm numb and I can't feel something. But I want to encourage you tonight to be the person that looks for somebody that's numb. We've all been to the point where we said we were numb. And just like Elisha had the responsibility to set his servants' minds at ease, we have a responsibility to uphold one another and set each other at ease in the midst of a battle. Sometimes it's the devil's prerogative to isolate us. The reason why his servant was so scared in Dothan was because they felt isolated. He thought they were in the middle of it. He means to set you right in one place and surround you with so much that you can't see anything else. My job is terrible. The people I work with hate me. They don't like me because I try to play Christian music at my desk. My finances, it feels like vultures are surrounding my checking account. I can't get out of it. I can't keep a vehicle fixed. I can't do anything, and you just feel so surrounded. You feel like everything and everybody is taking a turn, coming around, kicking you, or standing on your chest and reminding me, you're nothing, you'll never be nothing, your mama was nothing, your daddy was nothing. Go up to that church if you want to, but you're going to come right back here by yourself, cry by yourself, fall asleep by yourself. It's the devil's prerogative to surround us and make us feel isolated. But it's our duty as brothers and sisters in Christ. If I see Heather like that, I'm supposed to go by her, whether I get to see her face to face or I know it in my prayer closet. It's my responsibility to get in my prayer closet and say, Lord, Heather needs her eyes open. God, open her eyes and help her see that you are surrounding everything that surrounds her. If I'm thinking about Angie, whether I get to talk to her face or I'm thinking about her at home or I'm thinking about her at work, I say, oh, Jesus, my Angie needs you to open her eyes, God. Give her strength so she can open her eyes and see everything that is surrounding her that makes us feel like we're drowning, that makes us feel like we're dying. You are so big that you are surrounding that thing. You are surrounding those things. Not just with a little music and a little worship song, and those things are good. They are important and they are needed. Oh, but he comes to surround our troubles with chariots of fire. Oh, I'm so thankful for the hills that have fire in them. In Jesus' name, I'm thankful that he will surround my troubles. And even when I can't see it, I'm thankful that I feel like I go to a church where somebody's going to pray, Lord, help Toby look up. Psalms 121 says that I will lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer my foot to be moved, because he that keeps Israel keeps me. I'm thankful that even when it looks like everything is falling apart and there's spectators around to watch it and they're leaning back on their heels waiting because they want to see the mess. They want to see it crumble. They want to see it fall apart. Oh, I'm so thankful, but he stands on the outside of the spectators, and they better not get too close because they'll get burnt by fire too. Lauren's going to start a song for us. And y'all know I try to make everybody like me in some way. Not like me, but act like me. But I grew up in a church where we all came to the altar and prayed together on Wednesday nights. So I would like to invite you, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I would like to invite all of you to come up here and pray together. If you need to pray for your own eyes to be strengthened, or if you close your eyes and you see somebody else's face in your mind, somebody else that you know, that their eyes need to be opened, let's all pray together.